Okay. It's 9:09. So
Look at what's face.
it's 9:09. So you could just say it's 9:10. All right,
Or you
everyone.
could say it's 9/11.
Oh my God. All right.
Wow.
I didn't mean it like that. I'm sorry.
All right, everyone. Welcome to the
Hello.
second episode of the Boba Cast. We actually got on for a second episode. Yay!
Woo. Number 2, my lord.
Number 2. This is some wholesome vibes. Keep it up,
It sure
cuties. Hello, Rob Tornet. Thank you for your comment. Really appreciate it.
Rob Tornet.
All right. All right. Let's say it. Who are we? Who do we have on the show today? Not like it's changed or anything, but who do we have on the show today? Starting with this guy. This
Who's
guy.
this guy? Who are you pointing to?
I think it's
Oh, it's in the different order. Starting with Roman.
I'll go first. My name's Juan. You know, I'm that guy who says his topics in a really strong voice.
And gets really close to the
yeah.
camera.
And I get most of the airtime, but you know, you just gotta carry the game. You know, we gotta keep it going.
Hey, well, you know what? Don't talk as much today.
Don't talk on the podcast.
Oh, we
Leave.
lost one.
Oh, Pog, a map. That's why you know all the countries and shit.
Yeah,
All right.
nice. Leave it to my mind.
Let's get another intro in here.
I'll go. My
Yeah.
name's Roman. Tricor or Pocket Knee Roman. I don't give a shit. I wish this was like whiskey, but it's green tea.
What?
I'll go
Why
next.
are you? Look at that
Roman
cup
sounds
though.
so freaking
That's
depressing.
That's such a debate. His cup looks like whiskey. All right, go
It
ahead,
does. I
Abraham.
posted this once. Alright, yeah, go ahead.
All right.
Hey,
yeah,
thank
Roman,
you,
Why do you sound so
Rob
depressed, my
Tornet,
dude?
for the
Because
follow. Thank you.
know, games take it out of you.
All right.
Fuck League and fuck Fire Emblem. But I'm gonna play
Okay,
both.
guys.
anyway.
Anyways, I'm Abraham, or Hamman33, whatever you want to call me. That's it. I keep it short and simple.
All right,
Okay.
bet.
Okay,
Mhm.
cool.
And Carlos.
Okay, cool. I'm Carlos Suited Zamora. I play support for Boba Esports. And that's it.
All
Boba
right.
Esports.
Oh, nice. And I'm John Mark Chark, and I'm your host for today. Like always, hopefully, if we keep
Thank you.
on doing it for a while. All right, you guys ready to talk about some video games?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yes, sir, ski.
All
I
right,
swear.
I'm gonna start this episode 2 off in a very vague way for all our viewers. How do you all define collusion? Really short. What do you think collusion is? Let our viewers know.
I think it's two people who behind other people's back work together for a certain goal. They are
It's when you join your
Yeah,
girlfriend's professional League of
people work-
Legends team.
Two people work together on to achieve a goal they're not supposed to achieve.
Carlos, how about you, from your perspective?
I think the original definition, it's not necessarily like always a bad thing,
Mhm.
but modern, it's a bad thing and typically illegal.
So
Typically.
you're just saying it's illegal. That's what collusion is, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
I'd say
so
for the most part.
so for everyone on this show, we all think that collusion has to do with something behind the scenes that shouldn't be happening, and sometimes involves two separate parties that shouldn't be collaborating. All right, so in the NALCS, we just had not our first, but one of the more high-profile cases of collusion with the move of DOUBLELIFT from Team Liquid to TSM. Before we get too deep into this, I just want to point out that the very interesting discussion topic that has to go along with DOUBLELIFT's move to TSM is the high degree of sports casting, I guess, or reporting that has been invested into covering his move from TSM, from Team Liquid to TSM. So, have any of you guys seen any of those reports? Read anything about it?
I just saw people talk about it. All the other podcasts. I love the Nino, sorry.
You know?
And yeah, the only other thing I noticed, just to preface, or like, I don't know if you saw, but the whole point of the contract was they bought out his last 6 months, or like the last split, right, for summer split. But they extended the contract to 2021. So I
Ooh.
thought that was pretty interesting. So it looks like a long-term investment into Doublelift, not just we'll pick him up for a split and hopefully make worlds.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So it's interesting.
From people who are not as invested in the TSM organization as a whole, what do you guys think about Doublelift's move to TSM? Knowing that he dates the what? She's not the
President.
she's not the
She's
CEO.
president.
She's the president of
Yeah, president.
is it
Lena-
esports operations, or is it just the president of TSM operations? I'm actually not sure anymore.
I think it's of all TSM. She's the
Of
president.
TSM.
All TSM. It's not specifically league.
Because no,
pretty
she is
big.
not specifically league. Her whole thing is that she is not specifically league.
No, she's
I
not.
think-
'Cause
I personally think that if someone thinks that it's the conflict of interest or anything, they're a clown, because in the end, like, Doublelift's interest, now that he plays for TSM, is to win for TSM, and her interest is to win for TSM. So if anything, their conflict, their like interests are aligned now. If anything was a conflict of interest before, when his girlfriend was the leader of one of the orgs he played against.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they still won like 4 splits in a row, you know. So while he was playing in the other team, now
Right.
the question comes: do people believe that he was sandbagging in the beginning just to get the move to go play with his girlfriend in the same team? I mean, that's up to people's interpretation. I think that either he didn't, which is most likely, because at the end he's still a professional player and he has to play for like his contract, or he did, and then he's an even bigger clown for being paid a salary and not doing his job, you know. So I think in the end it's a move that we have to see. I mean, he's been in a lot of teams and he's still never gone into the next round of Worlds. So we'll see if finally this is the team and the structure that he needs to get to that final round. Because I mean, he's had the career. He just needs that one thing to like basically have.
is there any indication or like rumors about like him and Lena or him and anyone from TSM planning this out in advance?
No,
Or is it just like speculation?
it's
I
all
think it's just
speculation.
speculation by people who hate TSM.
This is
From what I've
the
seen.
the
That's
pop
true.
the popular thought is that the two people who are reporting, and this is why I brought it up, two people reporting on this, Thorin and Monte Cristo, actually have a hate boner for TSM. So they're
Oh.
taking as much opportunity to shit on the organization, and this gets a lot of clicks. So this is the let's say public facing point of view. So I'm just kind of curious what you guys think. I'm how about Carlos? Because like Carlos, you're actually pretty invested in League of Legends, so I wonder, you haven't really said anything about this yet.
Yeah. Well, so I have the opposite of a hate boner for it. I have a love boner. I think it's wrong. I think it's wrong overall. I don't know if esports has a mechanisms in place like a regular workplace would. If someone's gonna start dating someone that's has like does she have ownership rights to TSM? Do you know?
Publicly, we don't know. We just know that she's employed.
Yeah, so it just if you're gonna start dating someone that's employed by the team, but that's not a I mean, a player's never dated another player, but just that works for the team. I would assume that they don't have the mechanisms in place to protect teams and owners against players sandbagging to try to eventually get with their SO on the same team.
So you think it's kind of unprecedented at this point? It's like, who would have thought to do
Yeah.
that anyway, right?
Yeah, I think it kind of goes back to the last conversation we had the first episode. Just because the sport is so young, like he's gonna get away with it.
Have you guys ever seen something like this happen in traditional sports? I don't know. I really don't.
The first thing I think of is like a lot of receivers in the NFL traditionally dating cheerleaders, and they get reprimanded for that. They get fined.
The closest things we had in an actual sport. Oh, I'm just kidding. In soccer, it happened that there was the president of AC Milan's daughter was dating a player in the team, and then that player in the team, Alexander Pato, got a lot of leeway that he shouldn't have had because of that. But in the end, he was also like a really talented player. Like he was like a world class prospect, and he might have just gotten an extra year to on his contract that he normally wouldn't have gotten.
Actually,
Like,
so that's
like-
very interesting what you're talking about, because I think the same can be said for Doublelift. As a North American player, he's currently considered the best domestic AD carry, and he could just be seen as chasing success in whichever way possible. And one way he did chase success was in 2016 go to TSM. So like,
Yeah.
couldn't it just be seen? I always thought of this, like, why everyone's making a big deal about it. He might have just always wanted to go back to TSM once TL like bottomed out.
I think the biggest problem for him is I think the biggest problem for him isn't just like with the ownership. I think it's with his other teammates. Like, how is the rest of the team gonna feel? Like, for example, if you're the jungler and you have to choose between ganking the guy in the mid lane who owns part of the team or the guy who's banging the president, you know, like that's gonna be a rough call, you know. Like, I
Oh,
think the team
so
dynamic
now
is
you're
different.
talking about TSM in specific, like the whole
Yeah,
in-game.
like, I
Yeah.
don't think there's a conflict of interest or anything. I think the problem is like it might hurt their team morale unless they have like strong characters.
Right.
Yeah.
in those
I have a
positions.
question.
Yeah, sure, go for it.
Doesn't Bjergsen own like
Yeah,
TSM?
that's what Juan was
Yeah.
saying.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
nice.
Yeah, he
Isn't
does.
that like bad too?
Right,
So
and
it's like imagine you're jungler for TSM and then Bjergsen's like gank me. And this is the guy who literally owns like your
Yeah.
employer, you know? And then
Yeah.
and then Doublelift's like gank me, and then this is the guy who's like literally banging the president of the org. Like at
Yeah.
that point you're like
right.
Well,
that's a tough call, you know? Like that's the
Yeah.
only way I could see it being. As
And-
someone
and
who works
bef-
in sports,
Before
team building
we
is really
before we get
important.
maybe we can talk about this forever, but like before we get too much into it, I always thought the problem with Doublelift going back who to gank, your part owner, your president's boyfriend, or the other soul lane who win trades left when on an island. This is actually the TSM. Just saying, Brandon has made a good call on TSM, and that's the point I was about to say. TSM has more to lose by signing Doublelift than like every other League of Legends team for quote unquote allowing collusion. That's what I always thought.
really?
I feel like TSM has a lot of problems that could affect player interpersonal relationships, and so to that point, I think adding on another headstrong player who has a high connection on the team just kind of hurts your team play even more. That was my thought process on this. I think everyone's reporting on it because it's something popular to talk about, and it will make them a lot of money. But I never thought like it helps TSM competitively as much as it could hurt them. I feel it's a high risk, high reward move. Not really a, oh my god. And for what it's worth, the TL owner was completely cool with this whole trade. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
that-
well, I mean, the ownership, friendships. I mean, the friendship amongst owners in
Oh.
League specifically
Yeah.
is so weird. I don't know any other sport like that. I know if I'm thinking about NFL and NBA, a lot of owners hate each other.
Yes.
That's what happens when you're sports 9 years old. Like, why would they hate each other?
Exactly.
They're all trying to grow the game.
Well,
Like,
but also, I think they recognize that it's more profitable for them if they do like friendly wagers. That's why I think that despite TSM getting these collusion claims against them, they have everything to gain with Doublelift. Because right now, I still see League in NA, at least, as selling product and branding rather than trying to get championships.
Oh, right,
Split wins.
and that's why I definitely
For sure.
think TSM is willing to invest so much money in this, because I am sure they invested a lot of money. I was
Yeah.
just talking about more on the competitive side and the whole
Oh, okay, yeah.
talent suppression machine. I think it's going to continue. I think Dardoch is on the chopping block.
Yeah.
They have an open import slot. TSM's a mess. Doublelift is a band-aid. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I don't know about
I
doing
just think-
in between splits. It seems like oddly timed. You know, like
Mhm.
there's only so much you can change. But then again, I don't know. Did they delay summer split
Uh,
because of COVID?
No, summer split starting
It's
next
gonna
month.
happen. It's just all
Yep.
internet, right? Or,
Oh
like,
my
just
gosh,
online?
it's May.
Yeah, it's gonna happen in
Oh.
June.
I
That's
think
what-
if you look, if you were like hearing this 3 months ago and you tell someone, oh, TSM's gonna bench their ADC who got to World quarterfinals in his first game with a shit team, in his first tournament with a shit team, to bench him for Doublelift, like you'd be like, now you're trolling, but
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the reality we
Yeah.
live in, you know. In the end, like Carlos said, they're selling the product, and that product is more valuable with DOUBLELIFT in it than like some Danish guy who's really good, but in the end isn't like part of the NA like folklore.
And interestingly, as a TSM fan, I never had any connection. Like I never really felt for Kaveh. I didn't like him because it's just maybe he's good at the game, but he's not fun to watch. I watched TSM Legends. He never really did anything.
It's the personalities.
Yeah, and so that's
we go back to the culture.
I do want TSM to win more. So if he was gonna win, but the thing is they didn't win more. So at the end of the day, I couldn't rationalize. I couldn't rationalize it.
That's why C9 was dead to me when they dropped Sneaky Butthole Castro. Like,
but now they're like another super team again. Like,
yeah, and you know what?
Yeah,
they're a super team
on there.
Exactly.
Right now, Blabber's fucking dope. Blabber.
I don't even know their team.
Wait, do you watch his streams or something? Or are you talking about his skill? Are you talking about his skill or?
No. Honestly, his personality shines through his gameplay.
Oh.
No, but he's a ballsy jungler. If anyone has seen him play,
he's
crazy. He's
his
crazy.
balls are huge.
5-0 or 0-5, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it just worked the whole split.
And he's from their academy, like, and I think that's like that gives you a lot more identity if you know that this guy has been in New York. He worked his way through, you know. Like,
I've been watching him since academy, and he was blowing my mind, like with some of the plays he was doing, and that's really hard to make attractive or fun in an esport. It's very hard sometimes to see when they're professional players to have a player that stands out to you that's not like in a carry role. Carry position.
So did you ever bet on Blabber's team?
All the time.
Was he expensive? Was he expensive?
No, super cheap.
Oh really? Blabber. Oh dude. That's why you love him. You love him because he's easy to bet with.
But mind you, this is the same time Sven Skaren was starting, and when Reaper would put in Blabber, everyone was like, "What the hell are you doing?" But I was excited, even though Sven was like. Just undefeated on Lee Sin during this time.
I don't know. Still, at the end of the day, I do agree that the American sports culture shines through. I care more about the name than the skill. I do want TSM to win. Cloud9 makes me sad that Cloud9 has a bunch of names I don't know and they're winning a lot. So I guess it just tells you like our culture is just SOL, right? Dead on arrival.
Yeah.
No. Anything else you guys would like to add to just like NALCS? Any other comments? Any esports leagues you've been watching?
I feel like we could talk about these intricacies for a while.
But yeah,
if we get going.
You know, we could talk about them, or we could talk about something related to them. I mean, I don't know.
That's true. I don't have anything to add in this
esports leagues.
Yeah, I think it's watching weird. LPL now. It's cool.
LPL
is good.
I mean, that's what happens when you watch people who are like good at the game.
Did you guys watch Top versus what's the other team that they lost to?
JDG.
Yeah, JDG. Did you watch that?
I didn't get to watch.
I saw the semis. I haven't seen it because I usually watch them after they usually play at like crazy hours.
Huh? Wait, so JDG won
the dome for you?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Top lost. Top lost. Yeah.
It's because JDG has his top laner. His name is so good that like he created an app called Zoom. And that's where everybody,
you know, I'm sad Jackie Love lost though.
Yeah,
I love Jackie Love.
Bro, he turned that team around though.
Still lost. Feels bad.
Yeah.
Man.
It was good.
Anyway.
It's clean. They're the only team in LPL that can get kills and consider macro. I think
that the team with the Shy will beat them eventually when they get their shit together because they were kind of like trolling.
IG.
Yeah. I think that their top and their mid are just too good, but we'll see. I mean, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I just hope we get cool world skins like.
This guy, dude.
World skins currently are pretty cool. I thought they were but I saw that Vayne one in game.
Yeah, the Vayne one is. Roman and I saw it. That was dirty. That was dirty.
That one is actually really clean. The autos sound good.
The Lee Sin is also really cool. Yeah.
All right, let's move.
New skin.
Let's move along.
Let's move on. We can talk about microtransactions later. We're gonna talk about microtransactions later. So let's see. You guys ever fall into the whole BM on all chat
Yeah.
in your multiplayer
Juan
games? Other than Juan. Other than Juan, let's hear from
I watch people BM.
I mean, I won't like go off on people, but like I might
Oh,
put some
I will.
snarky remarks every once in a while.
It depends. If someone's super vocal on the other team,
Mhm.
there's nothing better than shitting on them or like throwing their own shade at them when they fuck up.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like I know in
sure.
mid lane especially, or like when I used to play top, when someone would just do the question mark, or they just say one thing over and over, or like you remember that Diana? I didn't ask. When we would like type back.
Oh, yeah.
Wait. How long ago was that game, Romy? How long have you been thinking
He
about this,
remembers.
Diana?
I remember that game was a game of passion. and
I
I'm
love
glad-
that.
Well, no, that one was special in a way. I don't know if you were you in it, Carlos. It was me, Juan, and Ale for sure, and Brandon.
I was
Brandon was in
there.
it too.
I think I was there.
I
And
don't remember.
It
You
was.
don't
it was-
remember me though.
Yeah,
It's
we
okay.
went in hard on that person.
Like that person didn't deserve that level of BM, and I felt like it just devolved to bullying that person at some point. To be fair, they kept bringing it upon themselves,
Wait,
but still, I don't know.
do you
it was-
think if you were playing a sport that required you to be in front of them, would you do that to them?
Yes.
Well, I actually do it more in person than I do online, I think.
I think
fuck.
it depends. Yeah, sorry, Carlos, go.
No, I think just overall online, I'm probably friendlier and more sexual. But in person, I think I'm more BM.
I don't know about the sexual part. I think you're.
I personally don't. Wait, I want to hear more about the sexual part.
Oh, yeah. No, like I make a little joke because I think that we're all dudes, being guys, hanging out in the locker room.
Mm-hmm.
Shooting the shit, right? or
Is this
whatever.
locker room talk? Oh no.
Yeah, something like that.
I think that I personally never do the first flame, but if they flame first, then it's open
The
territory.
gates
for
are
both.
Yeah, that's I agree.
Yeah.
I may or may not have someone in my household who likes to flame first, but I personally will always. I don't start stuff unless they start with me.
You don't want to.
When I.
You
Wait,
don't.
What were you gonna say?
You don't ever think when they flame you first, let me just mute them?
No.
No.
Yeah.
Well,
Only in like solo queue or ranked where you want to focus, where
Mhm.
like tilting's bad. But if you're like in a normals or we're in fives, I don't give a shit. It's fun.
I can honestly say I've never muted someone who's flamed me.
I've never
Like,
muted anyone.
I've never muted. I've muted people like when they're spamming pings and stuff. But if
I'll
somebody
mute
flames
people.
me, I don't mute them because I do believe in the value of mental toughness, and I think that it's very important to be able to overcome that. And especially because once you learn how to manipulate like the mental side of the game, which is also really important in games like League, you can make people tilt by you flaming them back and then clowning them, right? You have to be able to like not be trash at the game and be able to like get them back, So that's
Yeah.
important. But I think
So-
it's really important to be able to get them back.
So, did you want to say something, Carlos? Because you said you sound like you're gonna say something, but you didn't.
No, just saying. So you think that I wanted to ask everyone? You think that trash talk can affect people's gameplay?
Oh, for sure, definitely.
100%.
yes.
Yeah. I agree. I
That
think so.
Diana game, Roman, we literally made them lose.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
was-
Well, let me ask. Let's say you do this, right? Like, let's talk about that Diana game, right? Where it almost devolved into bullying. Like, you don't feel bad about that? Like, you wouldn't bully someone in real life, would you?
Well, the thing is, if somebody tries to bully me and my friends in real life, I'd bully them back harder.
So your
It's the
retaliation.
point of like defending. Okay, Jam, were you in that game
no,
or no? So I can give context.
I wouldn't know. Yeah, I don't play.
So okay, to be fair, this person didn't start flaming first. They got flamed by a certain somebody.
Oh, okay, but
Uh-oh.
Their retaliation was to like stretch out at everybody and just keep typing the whole time. Like every other minute, they were saying stuff, and then like I was just like, shut up. But I'm not
And
gonna
then-
mute. There's no effort in that.
Yeah, and then also the rest of their team, was doing pretty well. So then we found like the person who played was my sibling, right? So that they wanted like we talked to each other. We said we could probably get something out of it if we make this person in.
Yeah.
So
And it was like we like all roasted him.
Well,
Like that person just kept talking, and then I would say like, "Can you just stop talking? You're not," because they were doing well, and then they slowly devolved into being like, lizard brain go in as soon as we like walked in front of them, and then it was just that.
also, if we take it a step further and we consider Darwinism in this conversation,
Okay.
sometimes you ever in a grocery store and you see like a 7-year-old kid being like a total bitch to his mom? Like, you know that famous Dr. Phil episode where that fat kid just slapped his mom in the face?
Oh yeah.
Some kids need to be bullied,
I
okay?
agree.
Because I'm not saying that's the right way. You know, if this was a perfect world, everyone could get TLC, tender love and care, and grow up into be the beautiful butterflies that we can all be. But that's just not the case. And sometimes, you know, it works out. And it,
Tough love.
you know,
Well, I don't know about you, but I personally think that flaming a stranger's kid in public is a good idea.
No, he's not saying that. He's saying the mom should flame the kid.
Yeah, a little flaming
Tough
never
love.
hurt anybody.
Tough
Yeah.
love.
So real
yeah,
quick.
the mom, parenting.
Parenting.
Just to go back to your point, John Mark, I
I
think
was
in,
memeing a little
like
bit.
traditional sports, like okay, if I was good at that sport, then yeah, I would flame them. You know, if it's a way to like, if we're playing football and I'm playing football against like a 6'4" guy, I'm not gonna tell him shit because he's gonna like,
Oh,
he's gonna fuck me up. But if it's like in terms of like, say you're playing basketball and they just can't defend you, right? And you're just styling on them, and then you add that extra layer to just kill it, then yeah, that works.
to follow up on what Roman said, an IRL example. I played in an intramural basketball league last semester.
Oh.
In Sugarland, which
Yeah.
is like a city outside of Houston, and every person we played against was like 6'2", right? And I'm right here, 5'7", 5'8", right? And they're just like
5'7",
dunking.
5'7".
They're literally dunking on me, like
Generous,
just all
5'8".
over. And,
Yeah,
like,
pretty
and
generous.
after like 10 minutes of that, I was like, you know what? Maybe if I say bad stuff about myself, it'll mess them up. And it did. I was just like,
Well, no, because when you suck, I think there are two sides of the spectrum. Everything is on a spectrum, right? When you're really good, you can trash talk people just to shit on them even more. But
Yeah.
when you're really fucking bad, like you're just terrible, like you're 5'7", playing against 6'2".
thank you.
All you have is trash talk. So you
Exactly.
gotta embrace that. And that is the game. You're not playing the same game anymore. You gotta bring them down to your game. When
You're
they,
hype, bro.
when they go high, you gotta go like fucking
All right.
low.
Before
You gotta bring 'em-
pause. So what you're saying is that in fact, trash talking is a part of the game. It's a skill that you have to grow to be good at the game or competitive.
Some of the best of them in any sport. KG, you got your
Kobe.
KGs, you got your Jordans, you got your Kobe's, you got your Calvin
Tim
Johnsons,
Duncan.
you got your Tim.
He would say, did you not read that like article from Kevin Garnett was like Tim Duncan
Tim
was
Duncan's
the
like
best
close.
trash talker ever. He would
Yeah.
say 2-word things. He would say, not good, or you were close.
Yeah.
Too far.
Or like your mama pussy smell. Just-
Like,
Something like that.
isn't it like your wife tastes like Cheerios or something like that?
Who said
I
that?
think of that one all the time. The
Uh.
KG
KG.
and Mello.
So yeah, it's something you have to respect, huh? Something you gotta develop.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you either
I
gotta
don't-
be mean or you gotta put yourself down.
All
Either
right.
Abraham, I'm just saying, when we play League, when you put yourself down, afterward
Feels
we're
bad.
talking, I was hugging that freaking avocado, and I thought like it was you. I was like, okay, bro, it's okay, we had bad games. So it meant so
It kills the vibe, man.
I was like, damn, bro, you're not bad.
I'm sorry.
Like when I go to sleep, and I'm dreaming about like good shit, I just hear in my mind, I see Abraham's face and he's like, oh man,
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're really good at the self-degradation. I don't know what.
Yeah. So like when people are talking bad toward each other or about themselves now within a team environment, like how does that change the dynamic?
Oh, talking bad to your teammates?
Or about like always criticizing your teammates or always criticizing like yourself?
Oh, what I think is super underrated. I think you should never talk bad to your teammates.
Thanks
in
for the
front of your
follow.
other teammates, but I think what's underrated
That
is
femboy.
talking up your teammates behind their backs, like when they're not there. I think that's the only thing you should do with your teammates. You say positive things about them, to other people.
What
they're
if?
not hearing.
What if? Let's say, you Carlos, right? You always throw a bad pass, right? Right. Let's say you always throw a bad pass in basketball. If your friends behind your back kept saying, "Damn, Carlos, he actually throws really good passes, but I never catch them." But you yourself think, "Damn, I always throw bad passes." Like, how does this work? Like, how does your thing work?
So, I mean, I'm considering team chemistry in that sometimes the things that, are positive are things that you never hear back. But sometimes one-on-one with one other teammate, positive reinforcement. I mean, honest feedback is helpful. I think that's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Like improving on something that you're not good at.
Yeah. Like, shouldn't you say like, no, that wasn't good, right?
Yeah. The chemistry of the unit is also really important since we're all really close. Like a conversation we had on our gameplay, like in League, we can be candid with each other because we all trust each other. And it's a safe space for all of us.
It's a safe space.
We can be honest, candid, and know that we don't mean anything maliciously, and we can improve from honest feedback. And although sometimes it feels like, just like family members, it feels this way. You're walking on eggshells because you don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. I can tell that we all do that, and that goes a long way also because we just mean the best for each other. So that's important. Sometimes some teams, people are toxic. They're just a dick because they don't know any better.
What do you think about... Well, I just feel like we could talk about... let's look back on what we talked about last night from like a third party point of view real quick. Not too long though, but like, how did you guys feel about like what we talked about last night? In hindsight,
for a new day, honestly, it's honestly I haven't really thought about it much after
No.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on the mindset that we do have to like have the mentality that if we're like putting all this time and stuff, we do want to improve.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it was good, and the main thing is just hearing everybody else's perspectives.
Yeah, I think we need to talk more about what we want from this. Are we doing this? Because it is, at the end of the day, we're playing games with each other, right? It's for fun stuff. And I think we need to talk about the divide between competition and how we want to play the game / having fun too. Because if you get too much into one area, I feel like maybe someone's not going to have fun, or at least talk about it, If like, hey, maybe we can
because I mean, we can compete by doing like sweaty ass shit, or we can also have fun by picking bar top, But I mean, at the end of this, as long as everybody's on the same page, like it's good.
Yeah, I think being on the same page is a big thing.
Yeah.
And last night was a step in the right direction. So.
Yeah, I have the most fun regardless of us winning or not. Us like competing as if it's super important, and the like NALCS Challenger shit. That in itself is very fun to me. We're taking it like it's a very serious competition.
Yeah, because I think in the end, like for any viewers out there, like none of us are challengers, so like we're just 5 dudes trying to get better.
Doing our best.
Yeah.
I think that's really.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, I think we're back.
Okay.
But I saw on the schedule, John Mark, that you wanted to have a day where we look at VODs of what we played and discuss it, and I was like, yes.
Yeah, I do.
Because we need to do that. That's a good way to think about what we do.
All right. Anyway, we're gonna move into this next section real quick because we got to keep moving always. And that section is another filler. It's another filler topic because we can't talk about all these serious topics all the time.
Hey,
So
we'll make it interesting.
Yeah, this one will be interesting because my question for this filler topic is, what is your favorite? What do you think is the most interesting role to play on like a competitive team? So I like some things I include here in terms of like I'm talking about this in terms of video games. So some roles that kind of transcend video games, meaning it's kind of common in multiple games, is like your shot caller, your carry, your designated carry, your support players, and your tank players. What do you think is the most interesting?
What about the team memer?
Team Memer is not a
It's
not a
very
role.
important.
It's not a
It
role.
was very
Sorry.
important in the team environment.
Okay, I see. Okay, now I see what you're talking about. But like, I'll leave it to you guys.
Just anyone. I have an opinion on that.
I know what I like, and I want to discuss it, but mine's kind of a long one. So if you want to talk first, or you want me to go first, I don't know.
Go ahead.
So I know when we started, it was the first time, like, I ever,
Genitals.
I ever tried talking
6276.
like during a
Thanks
game.
for the
I
follow.
wouldn't say I shot called necessarily, but I definitely felt like calling out things. And my favorite player at the time was High from C9. And if you ever heard comms from C9, he's literally saying everything the whole time.
Yes.
And even to an aggressive point of microing players. But if
Yeah.
it worked for the team, it's okay. And I thought that was cool. But shot calling, I think, is good. But I've seen, like, with, like, more league stuff and seeing their comms, it's way better for a team, I think, when you have someone who maybe pulls the trigger, but everyone has the same focus in a team fight. And so, like, say things change, say, like, the AD gets flashed on, everyone knows to peel. You know, everyone knows their win condition. And I think that's such an important part for communication. Sorry, it's kind of a tangent. And then after that, damage dealer is fun, but I think playing someone with CC is also hella fun too. I just recently got the love for that.
Yeah.
I got that from HiQ, which is so random because they highlight, like, the blockers, or like the mid blocker in volleyball, and so, like, the whole point of shutting down an offense or just being the stoppage point to help your team out, I was just like, that is so cool. So yeah, that's my little spiel.
So, my first, well, I like League a lot. The first champion I ever played was Ashe. I think a lot of people, their first champion is Ashe. But the first time I played with people, with friends, the first champion I ever played was Thresh, and I played support. And this was a while back. This must have been like 9 years ago, 8 years ago. And at first I was like, I want to do damage, but everyone needed the support in the first 5 I used to play with a lot. And I wanted to be a DPS or something, or a carry. But then I was like, I told myself, I guess this is kind of like playing point in basketball in the sense that I can set up plays and like get assists. But then I fell in love, what Roman was saying right now, I fell in love with, like, having CC and turning around fights like that. And then trying to control the game with wards, and then trying to communicate with, like, little things that maybe I can see while people are focused on getting either jungle camps, the jungler, or other people are, like, 1v1 in lanes, and they're worried about CSing. So that's, like, what I fell in love with in terms of a role. Same thing with Overwatch. Like, I loved Reinhardt.
So like a
champions
tanky CC. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I love, like, people
Initiator.
protecting people.
And when we used to duo Carlos, you playing Braum was, like, my favorite thing.
Yeah, yeah. So I fell in love with that.
Yeah, bro.
I like, similarly to Carlos, kind of support, tanky, I guess, yeah, supporting role, and I think I can do that. I do that in the jungle, or I tried to, but every once in a while, who doesn't like to drop some kills? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Every once in a while, just pop off and do the DPS, but most of the time, it feels nice to be like, oh, I got a good engage, and I want us to fight off, like, 2 abilities and CCing the team at the right time.
Oh yeah, because a lot of times you're engaged.
Yeah.
And I'm like a bodyguard for AD or mid or top.
Get down,
and,
Mr. President.
But you know what feels good, and maybe you can relate to this the most, Abraham, is getting the outplay on a champion that you should not be able to. Like, you guys put it all the time. I have it maybe once every game or every other game. I cuss really loud when that happens. I'm like, oh, bitch. Oh yeah, bitch. And it's like a little thing, but
it feels good.
Yeah.
It feels good. For sure.
Because we don't have the kids.
Exactly.
One?
I think it depends on the game. It depends, like, how, like, because in the end, like, I like winning a lot. I'm a really competitive person, but also, like, in the end, more like playing with friends. So, like, I'll always seek to compete better with my friends. And like if it's a game that I know that I'm not necessarily the best at, then I'll play like a more like support role. But in the end, if I can carry the game and help my friends win, then I'll do something. But I think it really depends on like the situation in the game and everything. But in the end, I don't really think there's a preference for anything for me really.
Oh, really?
I mean,
Yeah. You don't find anything
like,
like particularly interesting?
No, the other day I played Nami support. I thought she was fun as hell. Like,
Yeah.
I think in the end, as long as it's competing with friends and then it helps us toward a common goal, it's fine for me.
Nice. Personally for me, I've always liked the players who talk the most. My first favorite LCS player was actually Reginald, because he was an outspoken shot caller, and I kind of like the idea of at the end of the day I never played the shot caller type of role, but I still like watching him explain his thought process. TSM Wukong, that was my favorite part. I mean, what? Oh, damn it. Well, yeah. That's what I liked. And what Roman said about Hai, dude, Hai is so interesting because it's just so interesting how there are different degrees of leadership in esports, because esports is such a like controllable thing, as opposed to like the randomness of sports sometimes. But yeah, Hai was also a very interesting person to watch growing up in the esports scene. Anything else you guys thought was interesting?
I mean, I think those types of roles are so common in other sports too. Like you always need that leader. You always need that guy who wins the games for you.
Yeah.
You always
for
need
sure.
the guy who facilitates things for a team and everything. Like, I think that's just part of it's just part of having a type of organization. And if you run an organization, you need different roles for people. And I think that's just a natural byproduct.
I think the most enjoyment I get out of like competing, especially I love team competitions, and that's why I love playing League with y'all, even if sometimes I fucking hate League. It's like even like if I play my role, like if I'm able to do my role well and it helps us win, that's like super gratifying for me. So if I have to play mages all the time, if I have to play Lulu mid, which honestly I miss, that was super fun in some weird way. Like
all two buttons.
yeah,
Oh, shit, I think that would work with Pike.
I really want to run it back because no one does it. I don't know if the nerfs hurt it because it's been like, I don't know, 4 seasons or something. But
I feel like
you know,
6, bro.
I was just buffing the AD or top, and that was super fun.
Dude, Doinby would do that shit now. Something like that. LPL mid.
I miss
Alrighty,
those
that's
days.
it
So
for
yeah,
the
that's probably it for that. So this is another submitted topic that I'm not sure how it's gonna go, but we're all familiar with the World Cup. So how about the esports World Cup? Before y'all talk about it, I want to just throw this in. Like, video games change every day. How can we run a World Cup for a sport that you don't know if it'll still be there in 4 years? That's just my opinion.
Well, I know, like, of course it's different, but like the OSU World Cup happens like every.
That's true, but I'm talking. Yeah. This is like, okay, that's true. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's all I was gonna say.
OSU World Cup.
I think it'd be cool in the sense of, like, I saw Overwatch do it. That's what kind of like started getting my idea for it.
Yeah.
I think it'd be cool. Like, the thing that makes the World Cup so cool is not that you have the best teams competing against each other, because like if you go to the World Cup, like you don't go to the World Cup expecting to see the best countries in all the world, because then it'd literally be like just the best countries from like Europe, South America, for soccer, for example, all in one group. I think you go to see a mix of like good countries, like good competition, but also like the national pride and the national competition and like the pride you have for playing for your country, you know? Like, I think that's something that would be really interesting to see with League, especially since League has gone so international now. And it could be really like, the thing that makes it also so special is that it doesn't happen every year, and it happens every 4 years in soccer. And then I think a way League could do it would be like maybe every 2 years. And I don't think League is gonna go anywhere. So I think it'd be really interesting to do. Like an event every 2 years or something, that you have, like, for example, like the best players from every country go. And it's a way of like getting, like, for example, like you could have like a country like a Slovenian team have like that one top laner who did really well, and then he can get signed by like a big LEC team or something. I think it'd be really interesting to see, especially just more like just in the theory aspect behind it, and to see how like different countries would react, and how to see, for example, like, well, maybe let's see Perks playing with 4 shitters from his country, you know, like that'd be pretty funny to see. And
well, really quick though,
it could be fun.
In esports, how do you get over the possibly. I don't know. I feel in the World Cup. Oh, well, answer this. Like in the soccer World Cup, like is it always is there like one team you say at the beginning of a tournament, well, they're probably gonna win it?
The disparity.
Yeah, I
of
mean
skill.
that usually happens, and I mean in the end, like people still like to see Brazil beat Korea 7-0 or something. Or,
All right, well,
those type of stumps happen always, but in the end, like the whole point is that the people who get stumped, like for example, Panama lost to Belgium like 5-0 or something, but they're just happy to be there. You know, they're happy to compete against. Like it helps them as an experience. Like maybe seeing like for example the USA getting absolutely shot out by China in a league World Cup. Like it's a good experience for them because it shows them like people get excited for it. Like it motivates everyone. It gets you to see like for example like a teammate if like Colombia plays against Korea in League of Legends, it's probably gonna be a stomp. And then they get to learn from that, and it helps the region as a whole because those players get exposed, those players get showcased, and you never know. There's always upsets. I mean, Kaboom beat Alliance. Like you never know. Anything could literally happen. Especially when like for example you might get a team like Denmark that has 4 really good players, but then no one who plays support well. So a team with a good bot lane could abuse that, you know. So I think it's really interesting to see. I think it'd make for really good fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen the whole what was it? There was I think the Pan-Asian games that included League of Legends.
I thought it was really cool. I read up on it and I thought it was really cool how like that shows you like how it's being included into like more traditional types of settings. So like basically like in the Asian games are basically like the Pan American games that we have over here in the Western Hemisphere. Like basically like they compete in a bunch of track. It's basically like a mini Olympics in that region, usually showcasing like athletes who aren't like that famous and it just brings more spotlight to it and stuff. And I know that a lot of like the Korean and the Chinese players that played in that 2 years ago are like top tier players now that didn't have that shot before. So I think it'd be really interesting to see like for example like
so essentially it's for like to bring awareness to the players that probably wouldn't get a chance, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even if there's unbalanced matchups.
Yeah, even if it's a balanced match. I mean, in Worlds you still have unbalanced matchup anyways. Like, and an A team against a Chinese team is usually.
So like Worlds versus World Cup. Oh, Club. Yeah, there's a Club World Cup.
Yeah, Worlds would be like a Champions League kind of World Cup, like Club World Cup kind of thing. Yeah. Like I think like if you have like an actual like World Cup instead in terms of like people have to represent where they're from, you add a lot of uncertainty to the mix, which can be good because for example like imagine like you see like for example France plays Belgium in League, they can put that on like ESPN or on Fox Sports or something, and then that can get more national traction, and then people who are normally more invested in traditional sports can be like, oh, if I'm French, I can be like, oh, I want to beat those Belgian guys in League or something. Like it gets a lot more traction, and it can help to grow the sport. I feel in a really good way. I think it'd be really cool to see, especially like because, for example, Roman and I were talking about this the other day, and a Team USA would actually not be one of the best teams out there, and then it'd be really interesting to see like how Team USA with all the different personalities and clashes would be able to like how would they manage that to have like a solid team. Like we'd have a lot of competition from Canada, for example. Which is something that we would never think of in any of the sports we traditionally play.
Yeah, and then just like one last thing I wanted to add to this topic is that I think patriotism is really healthy for some countries. Probably any other country other than the United States, because as an American, I lean into globalism. So I think like for other countries, it would be good opportunity in terms of patriotism and job opportunity and exposure.
Yeah, like, can you imagine if like Venezuela plays Korean League and then like we kill Faker? Like, do you know how crazy that would be?
Everyone
like,
kills Faker.
Yeah.
Even if we lose like 50 to 1 kills or something, that 1 kill on Faker would like make it worth it. Like I'll just say like, if I was
5v1 Faker.
Exactly.
I also been a solid mid laner, and I was able to like get a kill on Faker, even if my jungler, my top, and my support, and my DC, and their moms helped me. Like I would talk about that for the rest of my life.
Bro, you could retire in Venezuela, like you would be a local legend.
Yeah, you can be like, oh, you're freaking about that Faker, you know, like.
I think it'd be healthy for the scene if you know you get that exposure like you're saying, Juan, like the Venezuelan, because then you see other people, everyone's watching it, right? Because it's a World Cup.
Yeah.
That one player gets famous, that increases viewership, hopefully for that whole league and for that player.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's healthy for growing the esport.
Like it helped a lot when Woman Pain finally made it to the World Cup. People started like getting more interested in like Brazilian league.
How do you think
What's
How,
up?
yeah, how do you guys think a Mexican World League of Legends team would do?
Oh,
They'd actually not be terrible. They'd actually not be
I
terrible.
mean, they
Like,
wouldn't
yeah.
be bad.
they've,
Are
they've, they've had some people who have been on the scene for a long time.
yeah.
Like they have this guy called Seiya. Like obviously, like every good Latin person loves your Saint Seiya. That guy's literally been challenger since like 2011 or something. Like that's a lot
Yeah.
more than some countries could have. Like some countries barely could have like one semi-pro player. So like
But-
like having that player like would be. I think Mexico would be like a tier C, tier D team or whatever.
Yeah, that's what's so curious about this. Like in soccer, you have developing countries that just dominate the rest of the world. That would be cool for like esports to do that.
I think you move MK Leo to mid, and
Oh my god.
Like for example, like the problem with the Mexican team is that I think they have him, and I think they have like a support that were really good. But historically, like those people want to go play with the other Latin players, like the Argentinians and everything. Like, so could Seiya be able to carry them to? It'd be interesting to see. We should talk about the U.S. team though, because this is where Dominant and Roman and I started talking about some spicy shit. Like, because we were talking about how obviously like the U.S.'s best player is probably DOUBLELIFT. But so then, do you want to build the team around DOUBLELIFT, or do you want to get like the best players in the roles? Like that was a really interesting question that me and Roman were having, because we were saying like, oh, for example, like Blabber is a really good jungler, but would you want Blather in over Xmithy, even though Xmithy plays better with DOUBLELIFT? Like that's kind of where like the whole that's where it started getting interesting, because in the end, like it makes it interesting because you have a constraint in the sense that you can only use people from your country.
Well,
I think
hold on,
Yeah,
really quick. So the one interesting thing I would like to point out is that would the World Cup only be for League of Legends? Are you saying, like, I feel like League of Legends the only thing that would have a World Cup for it? Would this be a all-encompassing event? What do you like? How do you think?
I think you could have it for. I mean, Overwatch did it. I feel like you could probably have it for games like CS:GO. I feel
CS:GO,
like
hell
the
yeah.
Olympics that they're doing in Japan,
Yeah, because
like all the
the
fighting games and Overwatch, and I think Rocket League, right? Something like that. I don't remember the games.
I'm
But
sure
they
you
have,
could do it for other games that have a decent player base everywhere.
yeah.
Mario 64 speedruns.
Like shit, if they have a WoW arena like World Cup, I would probably compete in that shit. I have to be like at least in the top 10. Like me and my brother, like there can't be that many Venezuelan WoW players. They're good at arena.
You'd
Well,
probably
guys-
be surprised.
Yeah,
maybe.
so this is the thing that I'm curious about, really, because we're talking about all these esports, right? And a lot of players focus on one esport because that's just the one that'll make them money or it'll get them exposure. But we have a lot of games that are going on right now, and one of the very like sad headlines that I'd like to point out, since we've been talking about it very recently, is that we've been talking about Overwatch, and a lot of players are jumping off of the Overwatch esport in general. Like, we're soon probably going to approach a time where an Overwatch World Cup is not feasible because other games are taking precedence over them. So like, how do you plan for a World Cup 4 years in advance if you don't even know if your game's going to be popular in 4 years?
I'm saying that like you can have it like not all games have to plan for it to be more than once. Maybe some games can do like a one and done. Maybe some games can do it like every 2 years.
Yeah.
I think it depends on the game. Like League could do like every 2 years a World Cup. League could do it no questions asked very easily.
Yeah,
CS:GO could probably do it.
I think
maybe like Overwatch tried it. They did it once. I don't think they're probably gonna do it again. So I don't know. It could go.
I mean, I think it's an issue of job security and a lack of money in these sports, because if this was like 1910 and you have basketball or the 40s and you have basketball and the NFL, you may have like these amazing athletes that are kind of considering, oh, should I start practicing this other sport because this other sport may fail and the money might not be here. Because I do want to be an athlete professionally and get paid for that.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's kind of where you have gamers considering the same thing.
Right.
They're kind of scared if Valorant's going to be the CS:GO killer, so they're hedging their bets and they're trying to be good at both of them. I think that's where you have that. They're trying to secure their job position in the future.
Yeah.
That's so interesting, though, that when you compare esports to traditional sports, someone can just pivot to another game so quickly.
Yeah.
In
as opposed to,
which?
like in sports.
Oh, in esports.
Like in esports. So like, you know, between FPSs and stuff, as opposed to like, and that doesn't mean they can't play competitively and other stuff too. So I think it's just interesting that, you know, that pivot is really
Is this the
available
case
in
of
esports.
like where you have soccer players and tennis players also being track competitors?
That's
I mean,
interesting.
soccer is a sport that historically has not had many people be like really competitive in soccer and something else, just because soccer is so unique. Like you see a lot more that people play like basketball and baseball or something, but in soccer you never see like a soccer player being also like a pro, something else, just because the game is so much more complex and
But
requires
I
so much
think
more training from a younger age.
the idea is that I think the
muscle.
thing I was trying to point out here is that players are switching from one shooter game to another shooter game. So like that's the idea. Like how about in a sport where a lot of it is running, couldn't you also run competitively, even if running is only part of soccer?
I mean, I'm sure there's some
Like-
soccer players out there that can like
think-
run a 2 miles pretty fast
Yeah.
or something.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, like other
That's definitely possible. Athleticism transfers over.
Well,
Yeah.
but that's the thing. Like in distance running, like you have wide receivers in the NFL that are really good at the 100, right?
Uh-huh.
Because they constantly practice running these routes that are 40 to 80 yards. So that translates really well in that one position. But in like FPSs, the underlying basis for skill is like
Reaction time.
hand-eye coordination and reaction time.
Yeah.
That's something
Right.
you get on all the FPSs.
So like in a sport like tennis where you're doing a lot of lateral movement, you may be good at something like another sport where you're utilizing the same muscles. Whereas, so like crossover, I think Roman's right, where crossovers for like FPS games are more common, but sports, it's more specific to like muscle groups and then like
Yeah,
conditioning.
because also like in traditional sports, you also like you have to you're trained physically, you're trained technically in those sports, and then for example, a 100-meter sprinter that's trained for 100-meter sprinting is going to be much better than a soccer player who's just fast, because in the end, the 100-meter sprinter doesn't have to train endurance, the soccer player does. The 100-meter sprinter only has to train pure power for those 100 meters. They're basically like a Ferrari that's only designed to go fast and never break. While a soccer player has to be able to have the technical ability to be able to control a ball, which is something that you have to spend time training to. If you want to get to an elite level since you're little, you have to have the acceleration, but also you have to have the endurance to be able to play 90 minutes, or at least the 60, 70 if you're going to get subbed out. That's why in traditional sports, it's really, especially soccer's case, I don't know as much the other ones. I know that, for example, like Michael Jordan played baseball and shit professionally.
That was something else.
I don't
though.
think that's really I
There's
think
some
that
good
stuck out.
examples between a transfer of an athlete between basketball and football. Like I don't know if you guys know who Antonio Gates is or Tony
Yeah.
Gonzalez. Tight ends have really good there's a crossover between, I don't know if it's being a center, because honestly I don't know all the positions in basketball, but like they often talk about it. Anytime you see a game and they're like reach up for a pass because they're really athletic, they're like, oh, he did that movement like boxing someone out and stuff, because they used to
Yeah.
be basketball players.
Like
So
Allen
that was pretty
Iverson.
interesting. Yeah. Well, actually, that's funny because with Allen Iverson, I don't know if you guys do this. Some like Turkish team wanted him like recently, like a
Yeah.
couple of years ago, to like a
Years.
professional Turkish soccer team. It was like, we'll offer you a contract, just come play.
Steve
Allen
Nash
Iverson.
is pretty good at
Oh,
soccer.
soccer.
Yeah, Steve
Apparently.
Nash is good. Or like Usain Bolt wanted to play with Manchester United.
Yeah,
Usain
but the
Bolt
thing is, you
plays.
say like, I think it also depends on the sport, because like North American sports is you have so much less people playing them than like soccer. Like it's a lot easier to transfer your skills and stuff. Like soccer, that's why like you can't just switch to another sport in soccer if you're already older than like 14, 15. Like it's really hard because it just has so many components. Like that's something you can do. Like for example, Usain Bolt he said he wanted to play for Manchester United, and he played second division in Australia friendly games, and he looked out of his depth. Like he was just fast.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's second division in Australia. Like he's literally playing against the Kangaroos. You know, it's something that for soccer, well, at least for soccer, I don't know enough about the other sports. Like you can't do for for soccer.
Well, another reason why Michael Jordan could play baseball is because baseball's ass.
Okay. All right.
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. My grandpa was a baseball coach, but I mean, honestly, let's be straight up. They're standing like 99% of the time. Okay, what kind of athlete is that? You could be 5'6", 350 and play baseball, and be a pro.
So I think here, let me just bring up some stuff that I think was pretty relevant. to what you guys were all saying. And one is from Roka. Olympic track runners and European champion track runners don't get massive paychecks like team sport players do. And that's true. Like, I guess people are more willing to train those extra skills to get into better to like team sports than just running.
Yeah, I think in the end, team sports are just seen as more desirable because in the end, like, I don't want to go too IB psychology on this, but humans are social creatures. So if you can do something with other people, it automatically makes it more attractive. Like, that's why I think like team sports will always be like more like not liked in a sense, but more treasured,
more
by people
popular.
Because, more popular. Yeah. Because in the end, it's really rewarding to do something as part of the team. It goes back into why we play League with each other.
Right. And then we also have another. Hold on. All right. A lot of comments that are recurring. Just another thing to point out. Just another interesting thing. Has this ever? Do you guys know about this? Soccer players who ended up being too big for soccer translate well as big men because of their footwork.
In basketball.
In basketball, like they have good footwork and they learn in soccer, so they can translate into basketball. Oh, sorry.
I don't know any like specific names of players.
Boris Diaw.
I mean,
Boris
Diaw, soccer player?
Yeah, he was good at soccer also.
The guy's huge.
He's big.
I mean, yeah, like, because everybody plays soccer when they're little, since it's the most played sport. But I think like the people who are like serious into soccer, like I don't think
they have to commit, huh?
They'll switch out because, for example, like you can say like Steve Nash was okay technically, but being good technically is such a it's very important, but it's such a small part of like the whole soccer game aspect. But I don't think any of those. Maybe if he had trained all his life and he might have been able to get to like a second division.
So just one last point to this. Apparently, Joel Embiid was a soccer player.
Oh.
And got his footwork from soccer, and then became.
I read about that.
I didn't know about that.
He was a soccer.
He's Cameroonian, right?
Think so.
Yeah. Yeah, like a lot of soccer's huge in Cameroon.
Anyhow, I was gonna say, I guess we were able to touch on what we listed on for that. So here's the question for you guys, just another filler topic before we start to round out today's show. What have you guys missed out this year because of coronavirus?
Bro, I can't study at coffee shops anymore. I know that sounds very first world probably, but like it's actually really hard to study well at home when every like 5 minutes a dog barks or like my mom knocks on my door and asks if I need anything. Like, I appreciate it, but I also want to be left alone for a long time.
Also, I bet the interaction was like, of just having people around was good for you.
Yeah, it's distracting to like. I wouldn't say distracting. It's just a weird being home because it's also like, oh, I'm home, I can chill and stuff. And so, yeah. I mean, for me in my study period, I really like to go and just set myself down in the corner somewhere with a coffee. But yeah, I mean, also just like interacting with my friends. I'm home.
Aren't you missing one big thing right now? Something that you're missing out on this year?
One big thing?
Yeah, that you're missing out on this year because of coronavirus? That Roman might be able to relate to?
Korea?
Oh, yeah. Traveling. We were supposed to go to Korea.
Yeah, in April.
Yeah,
and
I thought you were talking
died.
about... Yeah.
In general.
I think for me, Korea trip, I can't shadow or apply to occupational therapy school because of all this. And if it gets extended, I don't know if anyone's going to be able to apply because no one's going to go.
Well, maybe they'll change
to go to all these events and stuff like Evo. Can't go.
Did they cancel?
That got canceled. They canceled. It's online now. I know this is all first world problems, but yeah, I had a lot of stuff I wanted to do, and I was like, oh, this is my time's coming in the summer. I've been laying low and working for a while, and then stay at home, and I don't know. I don't feel like I'm wasting time, but this is time, because everyone's also in it.
You're right.
But it feels weird.
We're all affected very similarly.
Like, no one's going to be like, why didn't you do this in the past 2 years? It's because I can't,
How about you, Juan? I know you missed something out in May.
2020.
Yeah, I had a big tournament at work. It's just kind of hard to work in a social work environment when you can't even be with the people you work with, especially when you give like a service. when you work in the service industry. I mean, it's rough, and in the end, I think our health is more important. So, like, I am missing out a lot on it, but at the same time, I mean, we have to adapt to the world we live in, you know.
Carlos, you missing out on something?
The biggest thing was South by Southwest, I would say, for me.
Yikes.
I was excited, had plans for that. But yeah, this is weird. I guess it's a hard mental reset, which is nice. Pros and cons.
What's actually important?
Yeah.
Personally, I missed out on 2 Jana concerts, so I'm really distraught right now.
Wait, which
Probably.
ones were you going to?
I mean,
the Houston one?
I could have gone to the Houston one, and she was coming back to Austin this month, so
Oh,
Yeah.
Ah.
Dude,
Dude,
that'd
those
been
are
cool.
right there.
it's
dude, we would have
Uh-uh.
gone to Buckshot. She would have been there.
All right, we have the podcast, bro. We got content.
Oh, yeah, we're
Look
good.
at
Hey,
that.
let's be real. Let's be
Street.
real. You would have smashed. You would have smashed.
what?
Hey, let's ask her to be on the podcast.
Concerts are a big one. You're right, Joe Mark. There's so many
The
concerts
Strokes.
missed.
Yeah.
The Strokes are supposed to.
Oh yeah,
have
you guys
one
supposed to go to the
Yeah.
Strokes.
I was
The
gonna go to Romeo
Strokes.
Santos concert.
There's a
The
really
Last Dinosaurs.
With your cousin, bro.
your cousin.
Oh.
All right, so I brought this up because now we're gonna leave the world of esports entirely, and talk about the world at large. I mean, we also, by the way, I didn't mention this, but we also missed out on LCS finals.
Oh yeah, we
LCS
did.
finals, dude. Oh my
Oh, yeah,
god.
she did.
That would have been awesome. All of us.
Yeah, LCS finals, and then a bunch of people in chat are talking about all the concerts and festivals canceled. Yeah, so I brought this up because to round out our podcast this week, I did want to talk about Free America. Free America Now. All the protests and all the big names talking about it. And I wanted for all of us to just see both sides of the argument and just, for what it's worth, I did research on the other side. Yeah. Anyway, how do you guys feel about the Free America Now movement? Let's hear
just
it.
to preface before any of us say anything, how roasty can we be? Or are we
Let's-
trying to stay like
Let's
PG?
be roasty, but like, can we not just throw expletives that don't contribute to the discussion? Let's contribute. Let's make sure every word
I wish I
contributes to
had
the
like a
discussion.
censor button so you could hear
Yes,
when
sir,
I want to
boss.
say something, like a beep.
Yeah.
Use me. Use
I
your
think
Twitch
it-
Primes as your censorship.
Oh yeah, it's Twitch
The
Prime.
thing-
Twitch Prime.
Twitch Prime. I think with the thing with COVID is it's contagious and it's like a social responsibility disease. You may not die from it. You're gonna give it to someone who's gonna give it to someone who's gonna give it to someone who's gonna die. And I think the fact that people are so like, oh, I want my hair cut now.
I need a
Like,
haircut.
how disillusioned
Same.
are you from reality and the people dying and hospitals being like run, like being up to the brim with, I don't know, with
It's that they don't know.
patients? And I feel like it's also this whole like narrative that's in politics is I just want to believe what I want to believe, what's subjectively true for me.
Yeah.
So, oh, you're holding me back from getting my haircut. And the biggest thing with the U.S. is like the freedom of speech argument. You know what I mean? Where, oh, you're holding me back in my rights and my guns, and it's like, calm
No,
down.
no,
You know, it's not like you're never gonna get a haircut again.
Well,
What-
so I don't know if it's just the haircut thing. I know we've seen that in a lot of signs, but at least I hope that the basis of the argument for them is that they feel like the economy is struggling, and a lot of these people say that like the economy. I don't know if they understand that completely, because I tried to be empathetic to all sides, but I can't be sympathetic to conservatives who so badly want to be oppressed when they're not, and they're creating something there that to feel this way that doesn't exist. And I'm not saying it's a particular kind of person, but it definitely is a particular kind of person. And that's what's frustrating to me the most. So when I see those signs like you're mentioning, Roman, when people say like, oh, I want to get a haircut, I hope to God at least they mean that they don't want small business owners to fall through the cracks as a result of this. And what's unfortunate is they are going to because of Corona, but that's something that has to be solved by the government. That's you know, they're going to fall through the cracks, but I don't think people should die for that. And I think a lot of small business owners understand that. And I would say that I would be confident in saying, going on a limb and saying that most of these people that are protesting are not small business owners.
Likely not.
I mean, I
Yeah.
personally think that the reason why in history countries and governments were made were to protect people, right? In the olden times, you know, there were wolves out in the countryside. You told somebody like, hey, I'll be willing to work for you, or I'll be willing to give you part of what I like harvest if you're able to protect me from these wolves. And then little by little, that started becoming like a town, a city, a state, a country, you know. And I think it's very important that we have to be clear here that the government has to decide if the most important to them is making profit and bolstering their economy or the health of their people. And if it's not the health of their people, then their government is deeply flawed, because in the end, you're not caring for your people if you're trying to make money and not taking care of their health. For me personally, I try not to be cynical with politics. I've been jaded way too many times in my life. I left my country with shit government to come over here to get another shit government. You know, it's kind of annoying, but I mean, it's just life. I just think that it's really premature to open businesses with 25% with 25% capacity, when in the end that 25% capacity is still not going to make those businesses turn a profit and really bolster the economy. Like, if you open 25% of a movie theater, are you really going to be able to cover your workers' salaries for next to a way to get the economy started again? No, you're just going to make a 25% marginal increase, which in the end has already been hurt because of the virus. I just think that the way I see it is that I think that the reason why Texas is doing this specifically is that way the state doesn't have to pay unemployment of people, and they can say like, oh, I mean, we gave you the option to go back to work and you didn't do it, and just screw people over, which in the end is the history of Texas, right? In the end, the history of Texas is, despite being one of the biggest states, in the end, somebody gets screwed over. And I think that in the end, it's sad, because it's something that, like Roman said, COVID's a social disease, and it's not, the point isn't about you getting sick. It's about, if everybody thinks, no, it doesn't matter, I'm not gonna get sick, and I just continue with my life, eventually somebody's gonna get sick. It's like having a vote. Like, when people don't vote, you say, oh no, I mean, my vote doesn't matter. But if everybody thinks that their vote doesn't matter, in the end, the vote does matter. And then if everybody thinks that their reaction to COVID doesn't matter, they can do whatever they want, eventually that's going to scale, and then somebody's going to pass it on, because in the end, the virus is already everywhere. And the thing that makes it even more grating to me is that the Valley had actually done one of the best policies for dealing with coronavirus in the United States. Like, that's why we were able to go so long without dealing with it, because we closed the Valley when we got our first case. We shut everything down. We were preemptive, which in the end is a good sign in history. When people try to take preemptive measures, like, it usually succeeds. And then with the proper amount of data and everything. And then we're throwing away all the hard work we did, and then we're gonna end up just being mismanaged. You see the video of the Plaza Mall, and then the guy's waving away the camera. The guy's waving away the camera, and then he puts his hand to his mouth like if he's faking that he has like. That shows you the general attitude of some people out there, and it's just really frustrating. Especially, it's even more frustrating. It's like when you're winning a league and then you lose a game that you're really high up on gold on, because you're doing so well and then you lose. That's a lot more frustrating than if you just got fucked in the beginning, you know.
Thoughts
That's
from our resident healthcare worker to be here right now?
Yeah, those are all really good points, and I agree with all of them. And I think a big thing is we don't realize, it's gonna sound bad, but we don't realize how many people out there really don't know much about what they're saying or what they're hearing. Like, people hear like COVID and stuff, and they're like, oh, it's a virus and it can spread, and does it spread through the air? Oh, it doesn't spread through the air. Can I get infected twice? No, I can't. You know, like, every day there seems to be a different story about it. And from what I've learned in going through clinics and stuff, is you'd be surprised how, even when you tell someone to their face, like, you need to do this and this or you're gonna get sick, how many times they don't do it. And it's just like, there's a big disconnect between people trusting other people, I feel, and then listening to data and facts. And like, if you were to go through like the general population and explain like a number needed to treat, or like epidemiology stuff, and like the effect case ratio and all this stuff of COVID, no one would get it. It'd be really hard. Like, a very small percent of people would actually get it. And it's just a lot of information that's being thrown at people that I think it's overwhelming to an extent, and people just want to be like, oh no, I don't have it right now, so everything's okay, everything's fine, and in my subjective world, it's all right. I don't have to do anything.
And not even that, where they get information, it's completely fake news. They're spewing stuff that this is a conspiracy entirely. And this is a large group of people that receive this news, and it's bolstered by our president and people that are put in power by him. When he says shit like, oh, one day it'll be a miracle, this will just go away, as if no one has to do these things, has to take action for the curve to be flattened. He says as if it's a miracle because he's someone that people elected that doesn't care about information and
and talking about that, people are like, do you want to say something real quick, Jim?
Yeah. Oh, I was going to kind of choose the direction of the conversation here. So if you had something that you really want to say right now, you should say
let me just add a thing about like what Trump says in the curves and stuff. And there's a lot of people who are like, oh, but look, all these scientists said that we'd have 1 million deaths by now and this many people would be infected and stuff. And well, yes, that's true. Scientists said that, but that's epidemiology. And scientists said if nothing's done, then this is going to happen. But instead, since we put in these stay-at-home orders and stuff and the number went down and shelter-in-place happened and we actually didn't have those kind of numbers, there's people who say, oh, the science is wrong. And so I'm going to believe in whatever I'm going to believe in instead of the science. When in reality, the science was right and the model actually predicted that, these stay-at-home orders and stuff work. And now that we're lifting them, it's really disheartening because I'm going to be working in a hospital in like 2 months, month and a half. And
So have you guys seen the arguments that Free America protesters make?
Can't say I've read into them too much other than the baseline economy.
I didn't know that there was like a streamlined point of view from people who oppose the lockdown. Just throwing shit out there.
No, yeah, there's a point of view. So no one yet.
Well, hit us with it, brother.
Okay, so the reason why I had to look into this is because, of course, big guy in the world, Elon Musk, had to go out and say it himself, "Free America now," right? So I really wanted to deep dive and ask, why would someone like him say that? There's a reason. There has to be a reason, right? There's a reason why everyone says everything. And someone educated like him would have to have a reason why he believes that. So there... What? Okay. Yeah, so what I found is the crux of the argument of Free America protesters is that there are three big research articles that they're citing, and you already mentioned one of them, where people point out the I forgot which study that was in particular, but the one that said, let's say we're gonna have over 1 million infected, and we didn't hit 1 million infected, so what happened, right? So that's one thing. Another study that they're looking up is the numbers aren't even real. Some people argue that a lot of the cases that we get reported as coronavirus are respiratory related cases that had nothing to do with coronavirus, but are being reported as coronavirus because of financial incentives. So that's another argument that's being made. And in fact, some hospitals, not New York, of course, New York has its own problem that's on another level than other areas, but they say hospitals in other areas, such as in California, are, and I actually heard about this from a nurse that I know. One of the hospitals in North California is furloughing nurses because there's not enough patients. So people look at that and they see, how could there be a problem if we see that? And of course, you also touch upon the articles and research articles that say it costs more to stay closed than to remain open at 25%. So these are the talking points all the Free America people like to point out. Some of them I think have some weight to them, but I still, just for full disclosure, I see their point, and I don't think there's enough evidence behind that to support opening America.
Yeah, well, my question is, because I just want more explanation on why, like, what you think, what Elon Musk has to gain from him tweeting those
Right.
tweets.
Yeah, that's
Right.
what I'm ready to go in on Elon Musk, man. You just let me know when. Like,
Because
I've seen is that like there are 4 or 5 different speculations that people have on why he would do it specifically,
yeah.
and he has a lot to personally gain for different reasons. But I wanted to know what if you think it's just because of that reason, Free America, and those counterpoints you just mentioned.
I know he has a lot to gain from opening as well. I'm very well aware of that. I don't know if you want me to go into that or if someone else wanted to.
I think obviously he's a CEO. Opening stuff at the sake of people's health to benefit for money is definitely something that's still happening. Even with places like slaughterhouses I've read that are deemed essential, but a lot of those workers are getting cases and dying because they're in close quarters, and it's an animal-borne disease. Also, just because Elon Musk is smart at some stuff, I don't think translates over to understanding of diseases. I think a big blind spot that the Free America movement has is that they're not considering that you can't just say it's over and it's done. It's not like a social thing where, oh, we're closing because of a political upset or something, right? This is like a biological thing that if one person still has it, this disease came from one person. And if you don't wait properly, you can still have that one person spread it to a bunch of people again, especially because we don't have a vaccine.
And it will happen.
And it will happen. And that's why people are talking about a second wave. And what's so bad if staying closer and long-term economic, I think, impact of staying closed for a set amount of time to wait for it to end, as opposed to opening too early and then getting it again worse. I feel like that has to have way worse of an impact.
Okay, basically, to kind of like not take 50 years, 200 years, as my boy Brandon was
200 years, can we get a pog, Brandon?
I think basically like the main things that my problem with him is that number one, he's already shown to be unreliable by saying that we were gonna have no new cases by April. That was obviously fake. Every epidemiologist said that was not gonna happen. I think he makes products that the general populace that aren't essential products. The general populace doesn't usually buy Tesla cars or I don't know whatever the hell flamethrowers or trips to space or whatever. So he's obviously gonna suffer, like in the sense like not in the way like an HEB would suffer. And also since he's a CEO in the end, like his main job is to get profits, and if he's not getting his profits, he's not profiting. And he doesn't have the amount of expertise to be able to be making these kind of statements. And I think he has a platform that and an image that will make like people think that his arguments are more credible. I really don't think he should be having that. Like I told my boy Carlos, just to sum it all up, this is like when Henry Ford said that he wanted to end World War I, and he said he was going to sit down all the leaders of the countries that were fighting in one room and just talk it out like friends, and that's obviously not going to fucking happen, you know. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
All right. God, I lost my train of thought when.
Were you gonna do a counterpoint, JM? Because I felt like you were trying to counter something that maybe I or Juan brought up.
Yeah, I gotta kill the fly.
I was talking about the economic stuff. I feel like you popped out. You were like, oof. I was talking about long term. I don't think.
Pop off, King.
I honestly forgot. All right, that's what happens when your computer and internet decide to shit on you twice in one evening. But I think one thing I could add to this conversation is that I remember Andras asked in chat how people are doing in the valley. They're using masks. They're doing anything. You know?
Yeah.
I am sad to report that 95% of the people who went to South Padre Island today did not have masks on.
Did you go to the island today?
I know someone who did, so I asked how it went, and
it's pretty bad.
It blew my mind. It blew my mind really. How when I heard that story and how it was described to me, it feels more like to them coronavirus never happened. There's just such a free-flowing attitude in our vacation spots, and I also read that the same is happening in Galveston. I don't know. Maybe
I heard about
Galveston. Same thing.
Not sure.
Beaches opened, and it's just everyone feels like nothing happened.
Yeah. So I was able to compare Austin and McAllen, Texas, South Texas, response, I guess you could say. And I feel like more people in McAllen were wearing masks all over the place. Whenever I made a run my mom was sick, unfortunately, with stomach issues, so I was getting Pedialyte at the gas station nearby, and everyone had masks and gloves on.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Austin was kind of slower to that, and you feel like maybe a more progressive city would be more responsive to this kind of thing. But that being said, I have a lot of friends on Snapchat that had not seen each other in a long time, different parts of the country, all traveled to South Padre Island last night, and they went to the beach today. None of them wearing masks. I'm talking 20 plus people in a small condo on Snapchat, partying as if this whole thing was not going on, and they had not been quarantined together. These people so they could be asymptomatic. These people have not seen each other in a long time, in a very small place.
One thing I have to add to this is being someone who has a job right now that I can see kind of the general populace in front of me at Snowbite. Very interesting, at least in the one day I work a week, the quick increase and decrease of fear or the general like, oh, coronavirus is a thing. I remember maybe the first week we closed, business was like obviously dead, right? But as we progressively got further and further away from the day that shelter in place happened, it magically became scarier and scarier for me to work at times, because people will be like, this is my makeshift mask, and I'm going to someone's car to charge them, right? I'll open the window, no mask, right? And they'll be like, oh, 1 second. Oh, okay, my mask is on. All right, let's do our business. Not even like that. She did this with an N95. I was like, bitch, why do you have an N95 if you're doing this? You're wasting that N95. All right, and so it's like the constant fear goes down and down. So that was maybe like 2 weeks in. We're like, what, 5-6 weeks in now? This past week, I just have more and more people say, this past week, Thursday, people just walk into the store and say like, hey, where do I go to pay? Hey, oh my gosh. I'm going to order. I'm like, they're not even going to call it anymore. They're going to order in person. And you'll have people telling me like, hey, like, guys, when are y'all opening? You know, like, when can we eat in your dining room again? And I was like, what the fuck? How important could it be to eat in a dining room that isn't yours when there's a chance that you could get sick or spread disease? I could not get it. It's
really sad to say that most of these people will not realize how big or how much of a bad thing, I guess, coronavirus could be, or how bad it is until someone in their family gets it and has a bad reaction with it. Because unless it doesn't happen to me, it's not important. You know, that's what those people are saying.
In a way, we're a product of like the valley got screwed over by reacting so well, because since we reacted so well, the virus didn't get here that much, so we weren't affected that bad by the virus. And then now that people like think like, oh, since we weren't affected that bad, now that we can go out, let's go crazy, and then now it's gonna spike most likely. I hope I'm wrong, right? I hope that like the valley gets no new cases, but the reasoning in me doesn't think so. It's rough.
It is, and again, I work. It really bothersome. I see a comment here from Andrew, one of our Snowbite coworkers. So on Thursday, I did like a real quick poster for them to print out that says, please don't just walk in, basically, right? Andrew had a comment here saying, oh my god, where is it? We had customers today completely disregard the huge stop that's posted on the front door. Like, there's a big sign saying, don't open this door. Ah, fuck it, dude. Let me just open this door. Like, oh my gosh. It's really spooky. And then one more thing. Andras here says, it's the age of sensationalization. People paid attention for the first 2 weeks and forgot afterward. Can't think about it anymore.
Yeah.
Yep.
So going back to my previous point, I think it's important that we don't let small businesses fall through the cracks. I think that's the real thing that makes America great. A lot of people have ideas and they want to create businesses, be small business owners. But what I was hoping what would happen is that people would absorb the information in order to be safe during this time, and we would be able to adapt and support small businesses while being health conscious. So having masks on, being able to socially distance, but being able to go to order food somewhere while kind of being careful and not infecting other people if you're asymptomatic or someone else is sick.
Wait,
So I was hoping that people would adjust in terms of like bolstering their online purchasing, online websites, and also being able to successfully like go out and order food without being, an idiot and walking in and avoiding signs.
Oh, so let me just ask, were you saying that you were thinking we could open restaurants, but still be safe, or are you saying they should adapt and do not dining room and just deal with it? Is that what you're saying? I was curious.
Adapt and never do dining room, not during this time, but adapt and being able to do curbside.
Okay.
Everyone.
Like Snowball.
Okay.
Or a lot more people like Snowbite.
Yeah, so very interesting thing I can add on to this, just seeing like talking to my boss, the struggles I guess some businesses are having. Some businesses feel like it's an investment. I don't understand why they wouldn't make this investment, but it's an investment to switch from a dining room to curbside, and then another investment to open their doors again at 25% capacity. They'd rather just, the moment they can go back to normal, they want to do normal as close to normal as possible, because that's cheaper and less of a problem than, I'm still confused how going to curbside was a problem, but some people found it a problem.
And something I just want to expand on, something I forgot that you reminded me of, is that there are a lot of companies that right now they're realizing that they can operate with their employees still working from home. So a lot of articles I saw was that companies are realizing as a result of Corona, they don't need so many people in a brick and mortar working, so they don't need to provide that space anymore for them at a company. They can hire these people and have like engineers and programmers working from home. They don't need to provide them the amenities that they did prior to this at a workplace. So that's something as a result of COVID that may stay this way forever. So in some ways that was beneficial for them. It's like market research, right? That these companies got for free. I think it's in that sense, you have companies like Snowbite that have to adapt to curbside delivery and these kinds of orders in unlike any way before. So although it hurts right now because they don't have the dine-in, and yes, you are losing a lot of that profit margin, you're going to be more prepared once everything opens up, if you survive this plague.
It's like a natural selection of businesses, huh?
Right.
Yeah. I also want to comment that stimulus in terms of helping small businesses apparently is a crapshoot, especially when I hear a bunch of big businesses getting those same stimulus checks, so to speak. It's a complete crapshoot, having tried to get Snowbite some of that money and us not getting, I don't know if we got any. I don't think we got any. It's just so difficult. That's what you said, something that would make America great is that we can help each other out in these times, and for some people they're not getting the help they need, sadly enough.
Sad. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's interesting. I also know that we're trying to do so many things, but yeah, and seeing a lot of businesses down here in the valley, either another cool, by the way, just another cool business that adapted to this. T-Rush has a little window now in the front of their store. You guys remember T-Rush? Yeah, they have a window. They take orders through a window now. Yeah, like kind of like they had to pay for that, so kind of support them when you can if you're here.
Yeah.
Like
is the tapioca still hard?
No. It was actually really good when I went.
Tapioca.
It was good when I went.
That's the whole point. I go.
Yeah.
They do have I think it's the hazelnut milk tea is really good.
Okay, all
I
milk
don't-
teas are gonna be. I think their boba will be fine on a milk tea. I think it got hard when it got frozen.
I don't know if
That
it's
is
Gruber
true.
or Greiver. He brought up a good point that curbside for small businesses like Snowbite can be a problem financially because of inventory. That's like a thing that I've read a lot in articles, is that the adaptation is difficult and that people don't know how much they should have in terms of inventory because they needed time to kind of
You don't
learn.
know how much you sell.
Yeah, how many customers you're going to have. And then Jean-Marc brought up a good point that the first week it was very slow. So you kind of feared that that was going to be the case. So you didn't have that research. And then also serving unwashable plates. So yeah, using plastics and boxes eventually add up. That egg added.
Anything else you guys wanted to talk about coronavirus in general? I'm trying to think real quick, but I like what we touched upon here.
I think the biggest problem is that it all comes down to lack of education, and hopefully this makes people see that if there's one area that's like actually done with it okay, it's that schools like have kind of kept going, most of them, and hopefully like this shows people like the importance of like education in general, and that they see like these teachers are still like teaching their kids from home and like trying to like do their job in a way and like educate, because at the end, with proper education, you wouldn't have many of the problems we have now of like people not knowing what like are fake and real sources, people not trusting this, because a lot of times people don't do it just to be mean. In the end, people aren't born mean. It's just people are ignorant and dumb, and you become ignorant and dumb. You don't start ignorant and dumb, you know. So I think this is hopefully something that we can use this to build upon, and hopefully people get to see the importance of education for the future.
For what it's
Yep.
worth, I feel like at least taking a class at South Texas College, I'm just saying, for what it's worth, people are getting free degrees right now in some places. I was just gonna say, I don't think everyone has, and I think that applies to everything with this coronavirus thing. Some people are doing a good job about it, and there are some people who are just shitting the pooch. Is that the right way to say it? Screwing the pooch,
Yeah.
shitting the bed. They're
Yeah,
just messing up with their whole trying to adapt thing and just giving up.
Nice.
Because there are some people who are just giving up and just saying at school at SDC that we need enrollment, so just pass them.
Yeah.
Who cares what they learn?
Really? Have you heard that?
Focusing more on, like,
Yeah.
elementary.
Yeah,
My
dude.
class and some other classes, having heard from some miscellaneous unnamed sources. Yes, the case is the fact of the matter is they're focusing more on how can we maintain enrollment than
But
learning.
enrollment's a big problem right
Yeah,
now, because
yeah.
I think especially the people who are the main demographic from SDC don't know how to use technology well.
Yes,
So the whole online thing is very unappealing to them,
yes.
and it hurts the university. I know, because just being in the library and being next to tech support, someone needs to know how to log into their email. And I'm just,
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, one
And that's
comment
people-
from chat. Marcus says, "I'm not getting a free degree. This is still hard as shit." I'm saying some people are doing a good job adapting their education system to allow for online learning, and some are giving up and not trying. And sometimes it's down to a professor level as opposed to like a school district
school-wide.
level. Yeah. Sometimes just the professor saying like, "Fuck it, dude. I don't want to deal with this shit. If you just log in, I'll give you an A." Some people are doing that, and it's kind of okay. Sad news.
Yeah.
I read one of the comments that if people want to get sick, they have a right to risk that, and I do understand that, but I think at a certain point you do need to evaluate like the order as well, in the sense of like risking a lot of people just for your right to want to get sick.
Yeah,
And
it's not about them. It's about everyone.
yeah, it's about the whole, because in the end we're a country, we're in this together, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Everyone wants to
something
call
like
themselves
that.
patriotic until they have to be.
the thing is
Yeah.
that we're individualistic as a country, or as opposed to collectivistic.
Which
We
is-
actually
which
think
is-
about other people. Where in here
South
it's like
Korea.
competition. It's dog eat dog kind of.
The
I think in a
doggy
lot of
dog
ways.
world, baby.
I don't want to pay a little bit more in taxes because it's gonna help out someone. I know, so it's just because they're too lazy that they're poor, or look how fat they are. Why don't they just buy better food, live longer?
I
The
think
jam, go.
one last point to this coronavirus thing before we start wrapping up
Yeah.
the podcast. Let me ask you guys for people who say, "Look at South Korea, why can't we do that?" from a completely unresearched point of view, what would you tell someone who says that to you? Why can't we just replicate what South Korea, Thailand, Taiwan, Vietnam, all these countries who have seen a very good job of flattening the curve? How would you describe to them, from your current knowledge, how would you describe to them?
A big thing is size. Our country's massive compared to South Korea.
Yeah.
Size and resources, and a president / people in government who aren't gonna give the money for us to do something to that scale. That's expensive as hell. What South Korea did, expensive as hell. Like they went all in on that, but they can because they're also tightly packed in one area too. Most of them, like, doesn't like 60% of the whole population of South Korea live?
I mean, I agree with you. I agree with you that the population is very important, but it also, in the end, like the U.S. has that money. Like, how much do we spend annually on like war budgets and stuff?
This is what I was gonna say.
So it's not like we can't spend that money on these type of social projects if we need to. You know?
People don't want to.
I know.
And that was the other thing I was gonna bring up.
Yeah.
And then that's the problem because, for example, like you go from having the South Korean president who, after a quick Google, was a human rights lawyer before becoming president of South Korea, and who do we have? Like, there you go.
Hi,
know, like,
Jackson.
Yeah,
well,
but
that's the reason why we can't do it. We could in an ideal world. We can't because it's fun.
But I mean, the budget thing is debatable because on per scale, our budget is a lot larger than South Korea's. It's not even close. And if the DoD argument, the Department of Defense, a lot of social projects come from defense spending. A lot of good projects. We have a lot of health products that come from giving money to the Department of Defense. But I think another argument that can be made is that a big thing that I hear is that Koreans, their South Korean, specifically students, it's argued that they are textbook students. They lack creativity, right? I'm not saying I believe this. This is an argument that I've heard, and my sister taught in Korea for like 8, 9 years. And what's the funny thing about creativity and free thinking, the free thought, is that in the United States, free thinkers and creative people mix that up with like being allowed to be a dumbass bitch. And what we have in the United States is people being dumbass bitches and straying away from mainstream media to access their news that they believe in, which is actually news that justify what they're thinking. So you have people that are they find their echo chamber, and they find so a lot of times there's a lot of people, and I'm not saying Elon Musk, but they have a figure in their life that says something. Well, no, but I'm not saying specifically Elon Musk, but he's one of those figures.
Okay.
For a lot of people,
Like Trump.
Exactly. Trump is the biggest one, probably. If a figure like Trump casts any shade of doubt on this issue, they will harp on that, and they will do research they will find research to coincide with that shade of doubt that was cast to completely direct their thought on any particular issue. And I think that's what happened here. So it's hard to get a collective to agree on how to deal with the situation in the United States, where a lot of people are so willingly to be conspiratorial in a situation like this, whereas Koreans are probably more willing to do something. Even though they have the slightest doubt, they're more willing to commit to something that overall would be good for the community. It's not at a huge cost for them. But for some reason, people in the United States, they see it as like, you're taking my fucking rights away. Second Amendment. Why? It's not at a huge cost for you at all.
Because that's what happens when your country hasn't had a war in its own soil in like 200 years or something, apart from Pearl Harbor. Like, these people have seen this shit happen in their own place. Like, Europe has seen this shit happen in their own place. Like, when you see that type of like tragedy, you learn to value like and trust, and then like have to like value like what is, for example, like what is your social responsibility, your social duty, like the community. Like, we're a very individualistic country because that, and it's helped us a lot, but in this case, it's not helping us at all.
I think also, to add on to your point, Juan, that's relevant to the topic, the question John Mark asked. The U.S. hasn't experienced the pandemic like Asian countries have that are adapting really well. So SARS aviary flu, stuff like that. We haven't experienced that. So that's why they're easy to jump on. I mean, they already wear masks when they get sick. When you're sick, you wear a mask so you don't get other people sick. And I forgot who said this. I heard it somewhere, but it's so true that people don't wear masks in the US until just to avoid getting sick, not to stop themselves from getting others sick. And that lack of social consciousness is like something that's contributing, especially right now. And how people jump on the bandwagon. Oh, Texas is open, let's go again. The lack of just it being culturally encouraged to stop yourself from spreading stuff is why I think it's such having another point besides the size that's making it hard for the US to adapt to a pandemic.
But also just to add to that, Obama's response to H1N1 was a lot better than Donald Trump's. Like not even comparable. I mean, Corona is a lot more contagious and dangerous, but
All right, good discussion, guys, and really want to thank you all for another episode of this podcast. Despite the technical issues, I guess we were able to finish it, and I think we didn't really break our discussion very much. We actually did a good job. Juan's gonna promise to be a little shorter next time. Yeah. Anything else you guys wanted to say? Not related to anything, but just like toward chat in general.
We love you.
I love you.
Thank you for tuning in.
The same thing.
We out here.
Really quick,
See you
what
next
if
time.
someone bans Fiora?
Oh,
You
it's
play
good.
Irelia.
Jumping Slawi.
It's because he said that he's like, what were your thoughts on Trump entering the Rift? And it's like, what if he bans Fiora? And I said, Yumi, he can't deal with the pussy running food.
All right, boys. Yeah. Anything else you guys wanted to say?
Trump is
say
a
to-
pussy.
All
I
right.
think someone needs to stay on the internet.
Oh,
All
okay.
right, that's
We have to end it flaming. Okay. Thanks.
I was just
saying
saying more like toward our friendly chat viewers, but okay.
Oh,
No, I
okay.
like the people. Respect to the people who've been here since the beginning of the podcast. My boy Brandon, he's been tuned in. I'm pretty sure since the beginning of the first episode until now. 200 years, KEKW, fun and interactive. We'll always support you, my man.
Dude,
And
there's a
everybody else who's been
mosquito in my
here.
room.
Thanks for coming. From my perspective, at least.
Thank you,
Thanks, Griver. You're the best dude in the chat.
Griver.
Is River
Hey.
Raker's twin or what?
Hey Roman, can you do me a favor?
Yeah, what's up?
Can you stream tonight's matches?
Yes, I can.
Can you do it right now so I can host you, so I can raid you, so we can get everyone in that
Okay,
instead?
sure thing.
So we can
sure
start.
thing.
So a big announcement. Shout out, Eggnog
Just
Stick.
heads up, I need to eat dinner
Oh,
I put on dinner
never mind.
to-
We're not hosting him.
to do this, and I need to eat.
Okay, so then go eat dinner. Big announcement, I guess. So for the next installment of this podcast, it's probably not going to be on this channel anymore. It's probably going to be on twitch.tv /
Boba.
it depends if Roman wants to also host on his
I
channel.
can host it on my
Oh.
channel if you wanna. I don't know if that's just because people will get a notification since we have followers on that one.
Yeah, so either one. Just
There's a lot of crossover.
Let me just type it out right now. It's
got
going to
you,
be on
bro.
your stream next week?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so it's gonna be on twitch.tv / Rykor for the foreseeable future.
So we can fix
This channel is
the-
retiring. I'm also retiring. I retire
true.
from everything every week, just like Roman. But Roman doesn't do it anymore, so I guess we switched roles. So anyway, I guess how can I betray my fans? How does my It's not me, it's my internet.
Ooh, mukbang, you want mukbang? I'll eat my fajitas
Oh,
in front of you.
wait.
Yeah.
Yeah, like why don't
bring
you
it.
get your food so I can host you so we can get everyone else to start transitioning toward going to your channel more often.
Sure
Oh.
thing. I'll be back.
Okay, so
The only thing I want to retire from is from life.
to all of you there, don't leave because we're gonna go to his stream when he gets his food. So he's gonna eat and then we're gonna play League, right? Is that
Yes,
what's
sir.
happening?
Yes, sir, ski.
I'm gonna go get something to drink.
All
Thank
right.
you, chat. Thank you, everyone.